The hosts and guests on Everything's Messy podcast are not licensed healthcare professionals. The discussions in our episodes are not personalized medical advice. Always consult a qualified healthcare provider for medical guidance. Never delay seeking professional medical advice or emergency assistance because of our podcast. We encourage consulting with a healthcare professional before making any significant health changes. By listening to our podcast, you agree to the disclaimer. Thank you for listening to Everything's Messy. Hey, welcome to Everything's Messy podcast, where we celebrate the beautiful but messy life experiences that most, if not all, people go through. Get ready to embark on an exciting journey through the raw and unfiltered stories of everyday people. Here, we dive into messy realities of life, from making messy mistakes to triumphs and everything in between. Are you sensing a theme? That's right, it's messy. But this just isn't about the mess. It's about finding strength and resilience in the midst of it all. We'll explore how health, fitness, and wellness play a crucial role in navigating life's twists and very messy turns. And we'll challenge conventional systems, because sometimes the most unconventional paths lead to the greatest discoveries. Join us as we embrace the messy, beautiful, and endlessly fascinating stories. Each episode is a testament to the power of our messy journeys and the beauty that emerges from the mess. So grab your favorite beverage, coffee, sparkling water, whatever it may be, and prepare to be inspired. Are you ready? Let's get messy. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Everything's Messy podcast. I am your messy host, Sarah. Okay, we are into summertime, which really excited about. One of my kids' birthdays is around July 4th, so it's always fun to have a summer birthday and just kicking off summer, loving the warmer weather. Just it's a good time, right? Everybody loves summer. Okay, so let's talk about last week for a minute. I got a lot of feedback on that episode, which I love so much, by the way. And I will be reaching out to Dr. Wendy to see if we can get her back on and talk a little more in depth about hormones and all those things that people are really interested in, including estrogen and estrogen dominance, and how do we balance that with progesterone, and why do women need testosterone? She's just a wealth of information. I'm so grateful to be a student of hers and just follow her work. She's very thorough, very in-depth, and I know this is a little different than what the conventional people out there are saying. And look, if something worked for you, that's great. I'm not here to undo that, and I'm certainly not going to tell you to go against what you know to be true for your body. This is just a whole other perspective of what the conventional medicine follows and why we, especially her work, it shows that maybe that's not the best option. Again, I am not a doctor, and I am certainly not telling you not to follow your doctor's advice and or do what you think is right for you. We all need to be our own personal self-advocates for health and anything else in our life, right? I am just bringing you information that I'm presenting that I feel is valuable. It certainly has helped me in my life. I've spoken to many other women that it has helped them in their life. And so this is what this program is all about. And with that said, and if you didn't listen to last week's episode, go back and give it a listen. We talk about liver and the important things and functions that it does in the body. And, one more thing that we're trying to connect the dots with, right? I'm always talking about finding the root cause of what we're dealing with. And a lot of that comes back to the gut, which the gut I call the first brain, because that sends all the signals where we need to go to our brain and elsewhere. So we really need to work on balancing our gut, that connects with the liver, that connects with the gallbladder and all of those things. Your gut is responsible for having you have a healthy immune system, balanced hormones, mood regulation, all of these things. So we really just want to make sure that whatever you're doing, whatever practice that you are embracing, I am not going against any of that. I am bringing you my messy opinion, my messy interpretation, and what messy things have worked for me. That's what I'm trying to do here on that podcast. So with that said, you know me, I want to get a little messy today, as I often like to do. One of the things that we're going to talk about is and this is my own pattern. I think a lot of you that I have spoken to can relate, and it may not match identical to what your pattern of womanhood has looked like, but it's pretty close to what I think a lot of women go through. So again, I'm just talking about my own personal experiences, but this is what I think is the general timeline, if you will. First, I do want to make a point, right? Again, Conventional medicine is wonderful when you have an emergency. They're very good, obviously saved my life. Emergency medicine in this country is bar none. We absolutely need it. But the maintenance of medicine and the maintenance of conventional medicine, especially when you are at the, you know, realm of what your insurance says you can do or what you can't do, that's where I start to push back a little bit. And that's why this podcast is messy, because I do push back. I do ask questions. And a ton of you have said, no, you're wrong. This worked for me. That's great. First of all, I want you to know I have no problem being wrong. Second of all, I know what works for me. So you can say to me, this is wrong, only because your experience was different, and that's good for you. I'm happy that it's good for you and that it worked for you. It probably didn't work for me. And then most of the people that I'm talking to, it probably didn't work for them. I got a lot of feedback on saying be careful with dandelion and milk thistle. Again, what I am saying is, if you already know your hormone levels and if you are estrogen dominant, then you don't want to have to take those things for a long period of time. You can still take them, but you just need to be making sure you're going back and checking your levels. You don't want to slip into being dominant with estrogen. That is bad news. I'm telling you that because I suffered through it. Okay, so that kind of ties into what I want to go through today. Again, I have a ton of notes. I think people are talking about this. I know women are talking about it for sure. And it's getting like, I feel like we're just going in a loop. So it's time to ask questions. It's time to push back. One of the things that I really want to get into, and this is so crazy to me. You know, when I think it was last year, maybe the year before, I had on Dr. Billstrom, and we talked about the average doctor and the amount of education through their 4 years of med school that they talk about in nutrition is 4 hours or less. 4 hours or less of nutrition. Why? Because most of their school is focused on what drug, what prescription that they can match with what your ailment is and or diagnostic tools, which again, some of those diagnostic tools are great, but we're missing so much of the picture when we're talking about the root cause. A prescription is a Band-Aid to help ease symptoms. It is not healing you. That is a different model that we need to be looking at, because it's not healing you. It's a prescription medicine that is going to help you with symptoms. It might even help you get to a certain point where you can get control back, but it's not taking away what ails you, right? I've been type 1 diabetic for my whole entire life. I take insulin, but guess what? Insulin doesn't heal me. It gives me the missing part that my body doesn't make, right? Same with, what else can I point to? Blood pressure medicine. Yes, it's going to help you bring down that blood pressure medicine, but if you're not doing things that are going to make your body stronger, make your arteries stronger, make yourself healthier, and get your heart rate down, a blood pressure medicine is going to mask for as long as it can, and then other things are going to pop up, and or you're going to have to increase the dose and increase the dose, increase the dose. We have to be doing things that get to the root cause. So when I find out, like I said, a couple years ago, we talked about the average doctor has 4 hours or less of nutrition. Now let's take it a step further. This is just mind-blowing to me. Most conventional medical schools, they also only require 7 to 10 hours of women health in all of the 4 years beyond pregnancy, birth control, and obstetrics. 7 to 10 hours of women's health is all they require. What? That is mind-blowing to me, right? But when you factor that in with the next point that I'm going to make, and that is, and this is one of my favorites here, that it wasn't up until the 1990s, not that long ago. Yes, I get it's 2026, but we're talking about the 1990s. It wasn't until the 1990s that clinical studies actually included women. Why, you ask? Because researchers literally said women's bodies are too complicated. What? So we've only had data, and it's been very limited data, for women's health from the 1990s because clinical researchers claimed Women's bodies were too complicated. And that might very well be true. I'm not arguing that fact. What I'm arguing is the fact that why aren't we digging into a more in-depth program for women's health in this country? Beyond birth control, beyond pregnancy, beyond obstetrics, there is a lot of things that go on with us. There are a lot. And what is the thing that we always come away from in the doctor? Most of us feel gaslit, feel unheard, we're prescribed something, we're told our labs are normal, and we move on. And then we feel hopeless, or am I crazy? Right? And I own my crazy, so let's not go down that road. But most of us are told, your labs are fine. It's just part of being a woman. We're gaslit about all of these things we might be feeling, and we're told to move on down. That blows me away. It's broken. We need to be asking more questions. So let's go down the my time. Let me be very specific. This is what I'm saying is me. I think, again, I've spoken to a lot of women who go, oh my gosh, me too. Maybe you will feel the same. So don't come at me and say that didn't happen to me. I'm glad that didn't happen to you. I'm speaking to those girlies, those women that are like, yes, tick, 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 tick. So here we go. Okay. So it starts early for me. It started, as a teenager. You have some heavy bleeding, or maybe no bleeding. It's not regular, let's say. You've got some acne issues. So mom takes you to the doctor, and the doctor says, well, we can regulate all that with birth control. Okay? Go on birth control. Helps with the acne for a little bit, and maybe initially, and this was a very long time ago, so I can't completely say, but I'm going to say for all the people I've talked to, maybe initially you do feel better, or things regulate out, right? Things get normal again. But what they don't talk to you about, and this is the biggest thing, it interferes with our natural hormones going through that stage in our life that are trying to develop. It interferes with our endocrine system, okay? And it's ever depleting. What is it depleting? It's depleting important nutrients like B vitamins, especially B12, folate. We talked about folate last week. Go back and listen to that. Magnesium, zinc, antioxidants like CoQ10. And we're still wondering why we have something's not right, because now our body is given this synthetic form. It's stopped producing what we need to produce for our hormones to regulate. It depletes us nutritionally with all of the nutrients that we need to grow during this developing phase. But hey, we don't have a pimple, or hey, we don't have irregular bleeding, or hey, we feel better. Again, I'm not saying that those things aren't an answer, and I judge nobody who chose to go through that. I did too. What I'm saying is this is a pattern. And so let me get to the end. Don't come at me yet. It's okay if you come at me, I can handle it, but let's go through it, right? So we talked about it's depleting everything. The B vitamins, the folate, the magnesium, antioxidants like CoQ10. These are important things we need for our systems, okay? So now, fast forward however many years, and again, not everybody, but at some point, most women say, I want to have a family and have a baby. If they're married, the first thing that they do if they've been trying for a while is hubby goes to get checked. Hubby comes back fine. The infertility issues are now solely on the female's perspective. It's her problem, okay? Nobody talks about the years leading up to that she was on birth control. That's not discussed. It's basically we're told there's something wrong with you, have infertility issues. Now we're going to pump your body full of synthetic hormones, pump, 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 to try and get you to that place where now you can be fertile and have the babies. Okay. And I'm not saying one way or another that that's not good or bad. I'm just saying this is sort of the path that we go through. So instead, again, of addressing the root causes, what are you eating? How are you sleeping? What is your stress level? Are you getting basic nutrients into your body? Do you have an exercise plan? Are you all these other things? Now, again, I'm not saying that all those things are going to make infertility issues not exist. Again, especially if we go back to the beginning of the journey where we were put on birth control. What I'm saying is, though, we're missing addressing the root causes. And we're also maybe addressing some supplemental things that we can do in spite of the synthetic hormones that our body's now going to be flushed with, right? So again, I just think we're missing opportunities in this medical system to do better with a bigger picture. Okay? That's, that's all I'm saying. So now I have beautiful babies. I'm, in it, in the thick of it. Now I have just incredible postpartum symptoms. Okay? The sadness, the tears, the low libido, oh my gosh. And I'll be very candid and honest here. When my first was born, I I was so scared something was going to happen to her that I really just wanted to put her back inside me. And I know everybody's like, "Oh my God, you're crazy, whatever." No, these are real feelings. I've talked to many, many women who've gone through postpartum. It just it makes us just so out of control. We're new moms, we're new things. And I realize women have been having babies since the beginning of time. I realize that. My what I've come to see though is in this modern day and age, with the food that we have available to us, with the kind of lifestyles that we mostly embrace in, the kinds of things that environmentally that we're exposed to me, it is very, very different than women of past. Okay. Not to take away their experience or the grit. I know there is, a lot of women that didn't make it through childbirth, and we've come a long way from that. But just what we're dealing with now in modern day, it is not the same as it was back then. And I just want to make that point very clear. So we go to the doctor and tell them about our postpartum. So now what are we offered again? Conventionally, again, I'm speaking conventionally. We're probably offered more birth control, and this time maybe an antidepressant. Okay. Now, again, I'm not speaking to whether they help, or I'm not speaking to any of that. What I'm saying is all of these chemicals, all of these synthetic things that are going into our body without addressing the root cause, and it's not being studied. Women's health is not being studied past pregnancy, obstetrics, and birth control. Otherwise, the pre-pregnant woman is not being studied, and the perimenopause/menopause woman is not being studied, other than for prescriptions and diagnostic tools. This is a huge miss. We are missing something here. We are missing root causes. We are missing how to be well. This is huge. And again, if you're like me and you've gone to the doctor and you come out scratching your head and thinking, am I crazy? And this is normal? I just feel so bad. I feel ick every day. I can't figure it out. Let me tell you, you're not crazy. It's not normal to feel that way, but if you're not addressing the root causes, a prescription it's going to temporarily maybe help you breathe a little bit, but if you're not adding in another plan to help those root causes, it's not going to give you long-term benefits. And that's the part I feel like we're missing. So then we hit the wonderful phase that I'm in, perimenopause, and my menopause girlies that are out there as well. And now, we're we're going through one of the craziest times, right? We're going through one of the most misunderstood times. And now the solutions that are presented to us are more synthetic hormones, maybe a sleep aid, anxiety meds, probably cholesterol meds, which I do a whole show on why we need cholesterol. It protects our brains. I know that goes against the conventional way. Go back and listen to some of my episodes, but I also encourage you to do your own research on cholesterol. Please, please, please. Anyway, we're given all of these options now as perimenopause women, and we're, have a laundry list of prescriptions that we have to go fill, and still our body is screaming and making sure that we're not doing what we need to do, and we're still not addressing the root cause. Then if you're like me, and again, I'm speaking to me, you decide, personal decision, not saying that there's not some good in it. I don't want to have a radiation boob squeeze annually. I just don't. And instead, I opt to pay for out of my own pocket a sonogram, which, by the way, in conventional medicine, if you're going through insurance, a sonogram is only ordered after they find your radiation boob squeeze abnormal. Then the doctor will order you a sonogram. I have chosen, my own path. I don't want the radiation boob squeeze. I pay out of pocket for a sonogram and or thermography if needed. Again, I go back to Dr. Wendy. This is her specialty. She does the thermography. She has all the books about it. If you're interested in that, like I said, maybe we'll have her back on. She can talk a little more about it, and or you can go to her Instagram at estrogen free. Again, I get no monies from her. I get no payback. I get nothing. I just really believe in her work. And I think if you go take a look at it, you will too. So anyway, I get chastised by the doctor that I opt out to do this. Again, I'm told this is not well. I need these health saving measures. I don't believe, this is again my personal belief, I don't believe that a radiation boob squeeze is going to give me a leg up. And that's just my opinion. But I do believe in the sonogram and I do believe in thermography. Those tools are out there. They're just not widely given to those on conventional insurance plans. Hey, messy warriors. So if you're looking for some help, some guidance, how can I get back on track? Maybe you're newly diagnosed T1D or are a parent of a newly diagnosed child of T1D. Check out my website. There's lots of stuff that I'm offering, lots of support. Look, the T1D world is so much to unpack. It's going to take a long time to get in and settled. So if you need some help, reach out. Let me know, and I'm happy to start you on your journey, or maybe you need some guidance on how to make a better plan. Whatever it is you're looking for, check out everythingsmessywellness.com. And as always, keep it messy. And then, right, the other thing that I get chastised for, and I'm very careful about what I say because they can label me a bad patient. They can say non-compliance and all these things. And that starts to change the one life-saving medication I do need, and that's insulin. So I try to be very, very careful of what I say. But I also, and again, this is for me, I'm not against. I'm not going to say I'm against. But it bothers me that when they recommend you're that age and you need to go get a colonoscopy, and my grandfather, he did not, he delayed it. He was not a doctor goer at all. He ended up having to have a colostomy bag. He had to have his colon removed, those kinds of things. So I get how serious it is. I understand. My point of it is not so much, I'm not saying I'm anti, go get what you need. What I'm anti about is there's no plan to support you after you've had it done, and all of the medication you have, all the drinks and things that you have to take before you get it down, it completely wipes out all of your good bacteria in your gut. And there's no plan in place to build that back. There's no make sure you are putting the good gut flora back in your system. Why? Because in our gut, what is it doing? It's helping our immune system. It's helping our mood. It's helping our hormones and yada, yada, yada. So if we go in for the colonoscopy, which again, I'm not saying I'm anti, but then it flushes all of that good bacteria that our bodies need. We now don't have the flora to make sure our all systems are a go, right? It's like taking a big compound antibiotic and just flushing everything out. That messes with your system. It messes with your immunity. It messes with everything. And there's no plan afterwards to say, okay, make sure you are taking a pre and probiotic. Make sure you are drinking gallons of bone broth, organic bone broth. That is going to help build that flora back up so you're not as down and out as you normally were if people aren't thinking about their gut. And I just think, again, that's a crucial piece we're missing. The doctor might mention, okay, make sure you eat yogurt, but there's no actual plan where people can go, okay, this is important and here's why. I'm going to go have this diagnostic tool shoved up my bum to make sure that I don't have anything in there, polyps, whatever, great. But then when I come out, maybe I'm given some pain medicine, maybe I'm told to don't eat solid foods for a little while, but what about the gut buildup? And that's the issue. So again, not anti-checking boobs, not anti-colonoscopy, just anti that there's no support underneath. And just because it is the conventional approved way by insurance doesn't mean that's the right way. And I really feel like we're missing an opportunity to, again, with women especially, all of the stages of our life that we're in the doctor's office, there should be plans in place. Again, I'm not saying don't, but we're missing what the root cause is. If we go back to the teenage years, okay? What were you eating? Were you in heavy sports? What was your sleeping like? What was your stress like? Were you going through anything traumatic as a teenager? Tick, 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 tick for me, especially having to deal with a autoimmune disease at 15, not knowing anything about it. And I've told my story many, many times. But you add all these other things in, and now we're just go for lunch on absolute messed up hormones, and our body's sitting there drowning going, help, help, we're trying to help. You're flushing us with all this synthetic stuff. What do we do? Remember, our bodies want to heal. Our bodies can heal. Our bodies want to get us back to, what's the fancy word? Homeostasis. It wants to make sure all systems are running at 100% and it's a go. And when we add all of these things without a plan, when we add all of these things without understanding the root cause, when we add all of these things without asking better questions, and again, I get it. Most people want the pill and a pill for an ill and move on. They don't want to be bothered with it. But let me tell you from experience, at some point, it catches up with you. If you don't deal with your health now, you will 100% deal with it later, and not in a positive way. And it'll creep up on you and you'll think, oh my gosh, yesterday everything was fine. What's going on? That's how fast it happens. That's how fast it occurs. We need to shift our mind from a little more of this conventional medicine, a little more pill for an ill, a little more, all these things. There's a very popular podcaster out there, female podcaster, won't name names, but she's very much an advocate of everybody popping a beta blocker, especially if you deal with anxiety, stage fright, things like that. Just pop that beta blocker and there you go. Now, again, I have nothing against beta blockers, but it's just another example of after a while, you're either going to be numb or immune to it. You're going to have to take more. It's going to stop working. And why aren't we addressing the root cause? And oh, by the way, if you're only taking a beta blocker because you have stage fright, there's another way we can work through that without the beta blocker. And I just feel like there's a missed opportunity. Let's go deeper. Let's take the time, because you will be better in the long term if we're addressing the root cause. And again, going back to females' health, how are we only studied 7 to 10 hours in med school that is besides obstetrics, pregnancy, and birth control? And how is it that it wasn't until the 1990s? Okay, I'm a Gen X baby. So you're telling me not until the 1990s women were even considered for clinical research on our health? But then the reason they give is we're too complicated? That doesn't set well with me. And it shouldn't set well with any other woman either. And this is why I am so passionate about what I do. This is why I want to get into the nitty-gritty of all of the wellness things and what we're talking about. And again, a lot of you are not going to agree with me. That's okay. It's a big world out there, lots of opinions, and that's okay. And most of our opinions, unless you're like me and become the data nerd and go into these big rabbit holes and get an education on different things and start seeking out these people that you want, most of us, it's not our fault. We want to believe that what the doctor is telling us is true. And again, there are great doctors out there. Wonderful doctors. Doctors saved my life. I'm not saying that they don't exist, and I'm not saying that they aren't there to work with you. But it is your piece. You have to be able to go into that doctor's office and say, this is what I'm advocating for. and go after it. And then hopefully you have a doctor who is wanting to work with you, not against you, and helps you and gives you the things that you need. And I just think that that's so important. That's so important. I had my, 3-month check yesterday with my endocrinologist. Shout out to Dr. B. I absolutely love him. If you're in Orange County, California, and you need an endocrinologist, I encourage you to go see Dr. Barrera. He is bar none one of the best. I've been with him almost 18 years, but he knows me. And yesterday I had a laundry list of things when I went in there. We need to talk about this. We need to talk about this. We need to talk about this. And he's very patient and he listens. And I'll be honest, sometimes he agrees with me. Sometimes he doesn't. There's some pushback sometimes on our insulin plan and things like that. But he works mostly with me. Obviously, he has to work in the parameters of what he's allowed to do within the practice and the insurance guidelines and things like that. But for the most part, we have a great partnership. And I encourage you to find a doctor like that. Because like I said, not all of them are bad, but you have to go in with a plan already so you don't get fed the, standard line of, oh, your labs are normal, everything's fine, here's an antidepressant. And again, it's okay if you're taking an antidepressant. I've taken them before, but you have to have a plan. I think, let me reiterate, I think there should be a plan. How long are you taking it? What are you taking it for? And what else are you doing to help you support with it? It's not just, here you go and be on your way. That's my opinion. That's what I feel. And again, I've taken them. I'm not judging anybody who has. I'm not saying that, we all need to be pure and not have any medicine. God, no. I had a really bad toothache that turned into an abscess. And before I could get to the dentist, they of course make you take the antibiotics to get rid of the abscess. And holy crap, I felt so much better. That's conventional medicine. I'm not against it. I'm not against it. I am against no plan. And we're talking about the gut. Thankfully, I had a plan for being on the dose of antibiotics I had to take. That included bone broth, Greek yogurt, probiotic, prebiotic, some kefir, some kimchi, and just putting all that flora back in there. So, but I will say that it wasn't, my body wasn't hurting. It was not pleasant, but certainly made the toothache stop. So again, I think there's a harmonious way where it can work together. I dream of a practice of building conventional with holistic and marrying that together because I think so many people would benefit from that. And that is the dream, right? That is what we're trying to do. In the meantime, I'm trying to build my wellness business. I'm trying to get information out to you with my podcast. And again, haters going to hate. You can come after me and tell me I'm wrong. No, you're not doing it right. That's great. And I appreciate your perspective. But like you, like me, I'm going to respectfully disagree and say, well, this is what worked for me. Because again, and I say this all the time, what worked for you maybe doesn't work for me, and that's okay. We're all different. We are all made from different DNA and different molecules and all this kind of stuff. The only broad statement I'm making, is the only one, is to address root causes. Don't just take a pill and forget about why you're taking the pill. Let's get a plan in place or a diagnostic tool if you're having the colonoscopy, whatever you're doing. Just have a plan in place as to how we can give our body the best opportunity to build it back to get to that homeostasis. And again, if you're like me and you've had these experiences with women's health, we need to be better. We need to ask more questions. We need to get more, maybe it's female doctors, even if it's male doctors, we need to get them more involved in a different side of women's health that doesn't just include pregnancy, obstetrics, and birth control. We need them involved in the big, and there are many hormone doctors that are starting to come into this space. They're starting to do a lot of research because again, it's been only since the 1990s that we've been included in research, and they are making better strides. They are trying to understand menopause, but we also need to look at menopause and perimenopause and all of the stages of womanhood as we're not broken. We are not broken. These are the periods of life that we are supposed to go through. This, where it has gone wrong, again, is the food that we have available, this lifestyle that we may be doing, the movement that we're not doing, the sleep we will not be getting, the stress that we're having. These are all things that are going to contribute to all of the things that I've mentioned, no matter what stage of life of womanhood we're in. And again, even with supplements, and I say this very, very carefully and cautiously as well, but even with supplements, you shouldn't be taking it for long periods of time. A supplement is meant to supplement your plan, your health, your movement, whatever you're doing. But then ask yourself, how long do I need to be out there? A very big comment was made last week on the liver episode. And look, I'm a big fan of it. And it's the supplement called TUDCA. It's TUDCA. It's an amazing product. It absolutely helps with non-alcoholic fatty liver. And believe it or not, and this is pretty amazing, it can help with someone who, if they have the test that says they might have the gene to have type 1 diabetes, it can either help slow that process and or help build back some nutrients. It doesn't mean that you won't ever get T1D, but there is a lot of promising research out there that this particular TUDCA can help slow that down. That's amazing. So yes, take the supplement, but have a plan. Be working with somebody who understands supplements and isn't just trying to get rich off of your ailment. Supplements are a multi-billion-dollar industry. We've talked about this. Most of the time, it is very expensive pee. You're just going to pee it out. It's not doing what you need to do. I always advocate if you can get it in a raw food form or organic food form, that is what we need. I also had another comment, and I just want to mention this briefly. She had told me that she's struggling with being anemic, and this had to do with the liver episode last week. And iron supplements, again, I'm not saying you don't take them. I'm just telling you what I know of them. Iron supplements are hard on your digestive system. A lot of them can make you constipated. And it's really not the direct way to build up that heme in our blood that we need for the iron. I am a strong advocate. Again, I get no deal, no sponsorship, no money. They have no idea who I am, but I'm a big advocate of a company that produces meat, and they are called Forces of Nature. And they have an ancestral blend hamburger meat that puts liver, spleen, heart, kidney all into the batch. They grind it all up and they package it as hamburger meat. My kids and I, we eat it all the time. My husband eats it. They have no idea that they're eating liver, spleen, heart, kidneys. No idea. And so if you're looking for something like that and to get that heme into your system to catch that iron, to me, this is the best organic way that you can do it through food and getting it to you need now. Does that mean you don't need an iron supplement? No. I'm just saying this is, to me, because I struggled. I was so anemic after my heart attack that they were considering a blood transfusion, and that scared the shit out of me. I didn't want that. My personal opinion, I didn't want that. I wanted to figure out what I could do. As soon as I started eating this rich meat, the heme, the blood, I was healing my own blood and my body started to correct. And now guess what? No longer have an iron deficiency. Now, does that mean it'll work for you? Does that mean maybe you have an aversion to red meat? No. All of those things can probably mean, whatever you need to do. Just strictly talking for me, from what my experience is. So I say all of that to say, go look at your own journey as a woman. When did it start? When did you go to the doctor? When did they start possibly gaslighting you or making you feel like you were crazy? Look at your root causes. Write them down. Start journaling. Is it sleep? Is it food? Is it no exercise? Is it stress? Again, hand up here. Tick, tick, tick. Stress, stress, stress. We always talk about that on this podcast. We know how important it is to get our stress under control. So it's all in the soup. You got to stir it all up and you got to start pulling out one at a time and address it. Sleep, food, what kind of food you're eating, movement, stress control, all of these things. When it becomes a little deeper than that, when it becomes things that are sort of beyond your control, whether it's a mold toxin or other things that you might be dealing with, a thyroid issue, I get that there's going to need to be conventional medicine to intervene. But it doesn't mean you can't have your own plan of how else you can support that. Work with your body, not against your body. Find out where those root causes came from. When did they start? How long have you been dealing with them? Did you kind of have the trail of stuff that I had? And I'll be honest with the infertility. I didn't spend a whole lot of my time with it. I was actually, I'll be honest, I was kind of scared to do anything like that. But it, I I knew that there was something happening, and at the time I wasn't smart enough to contribute it to all the years on birth control. Um, and then, of course, divorced and remarried, and I'm happier and less stress and doing better, and then got pregnant. That's not always the case with everybody else, and I do understand that. And I do understand how heartbreaking infertility can be, and I do understand the just the emotions that you go through when you're on an infertility plan. I get it. I want you to have all the success, and I want you to be able to make those beautiful babies. I just want you to make sure that you're supporting your body as much as you can in a gentler, more organic way, working harmoniously with these other things that you might try to do for the infertility problem. I get that part. Then, like I said, if you're my age, you're full swung into perimenopause, and that's a whole other beast. It's a whole other monster, and we have to support the body. And we need to stop, and I'm going to say this very, very clearly, we need to stop telling women we're broken. There's something wrong with us. Menopause is the natural way our bodies are designed. Our Creator designed us to go through these stages of life. What we're pushing back on, what we're having problems with, is the current state of our lifestyle, our food choices, our stress levels, all of these things, on top of if you're dealing with autoimmune conditions, on top of you're dealing with other things that are going on in your life. That this is just scratching the surface. So again, gone on long enough. Hopefully you got something out of this. If anything you got out of it that conventional doctors, 7 to 10 hours at most, let's not let that go. Let's push back. Let's talk about it. Let's get people talking about it. And as always, keep it messy. Thanks for listening to Everything's Messy podcast. Whew, if you made it this far, give yourself a gold star or at least a nap. Honestly, if you showed up today and you were listening, you've already crushed it. I'm so grateful for you listening. If anything hit home, share it, tag me, write it on a sticky note. I don't care. Just don't keep all of this messy goodness to yourself. You can find me on Instagram at Everything's Messy Wellness, or over at my website, everythingsmessywellness.com, where I've got resources, coaching, and probably a new rant about blood sugar or something that's just nonsense. It's all waiting for you. Check out my YouTube channel. I've got all of my podcast episodes up there, and I'm on X at Everything's Mess. Or if you just want to send me an email, Sarah at everythingsmessywellness.com. Look, until next time, hydrate, take no crap, and as always, keep it messy.